Cool. We're rolling. Riley, Tim, do you guys each want to introduce yourselves? And then Riley, you already did a podcast, so we can direct people there if they want to learn more about you. But tell us why you guys are here and what you guys do.
Yeah, so my name is Riley Rivers. I am the SWMBIA president for 2026. So SWMBIA stands for the Southwest Montana Building Industry Association.
I'm Tim Pirelli. I'm on the board of directors with SWMBIA also. Own Elite Glass here in town.
Yeah, so you guys are both business owners and you guys are both part of SWMBIA. So why are you guys a part of SWMBIA? What does SWMBIA do and why is it of value to business owners?
Yeah, so SWMBIA has been around since 1978. And when you're a member of SWMBIA, you're part of the Southwest Montana Building Industry Association. You're also a part of MBIA, the Montana Building Industry Association, and NAHB, the National Association of Home Builders. And SWMBIA's three core pillars are advocacy, so a lot of government affairs work and working with our local legislators on crafting laws that really can bring about housing and making housing happen and ensuring that we're making it able to build in Bozeman. With a focus on housing is really where SWMBIA falls into. It's primarily home builders. And then we have advocacy, education, and networking. Those are our three core pillars. So the education part is we host a lot of events on, educating about different, business topics. And then we do a lot of work with Bozeman School District 7, Carl Schwartz, who started the trades program at both the Gallatin High and Bozeman High. We worked with him. I mean, he did all the work, but we were really supportive of him and helping him get sponsors to bring about the trades program for the school, where they're building sheds, but they're building them at the quality that you'd build a house, and showing kids a new path beyond just college. To get them interested in the trades. And, Kenyon Noble was a huge sponsor. Milwaukee Tool was a huge sponsor, donated all those tools. And then SWMBIA and a lot of other building related companies around town really stepped up to get that program off the ground. And so that's one of the cool things that SWMBIA has really done there. We've also been really supportive over the last number of years through our 501c3 or nonprofit SWMBIA Cares in supporting the Gallatin College and their construction classes. And we give out multiple sponsorships a semester to Gallatin College through our SWMBIA Cares nonprofit.
I believe that the reason I've been involved, and it's not just this organization, but with another organization going on 28 years now, is mainly because we have to protect our business. There's constant pushback from regulation and everything else that we have to face with all the time. So I'm involved with the membership program. We go out and look for new members, try to build up our coffers, because there are certain situations that come up that we have to put forth money or anything else. I'm also part of the GRIP program, which is a program that is run with Montana State Fund. It's a safety program. They put on several classes here in Bozeman that are well attended for safety. There's Monty, who runs the GRIP program up in Helena, comes down and he goes all over the state and puts on these classes. So I think it's really good to try to talk about what we do as a group is mainly.
So when you guys, anyone that's in the building industry pretty broadly, you guys can all come together as a group for certain regulation, for certain stuff that's going on within the industry, and approach it as a group. And I'm assuming have a much stronger impact than just if you're one business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the nice thing about SWMBIA is it is not just home builders who make up our organization. It's basically, if you think about it, there could be up to 32 different trades on a house. And any one of those trades can be a member of SWMBIA. So I'm a landscaper. Tim owns a glass company. We're both members of SWMBIA. Other people that are on our board and members of SWMBIA, we have got, mortgage lenders. We have real estate agents, insurance agents, basically if you think about everything or every kind of business or person that goes into bringing a house from a plot of dirt all the way through, handing the keys over to a family, they're all SWMBIA members. And so we have a ton of representation when it comes to that. It is a lot of advocacy and, standing up for the building community, but it's also a lot of we're not anti-regulation by any means. We just want smart regulation. And so we maintain good relationships at the local government level, where we can work with them ahead of time before things even go to a commission vote on, hey, this is good policy, or like, hey, this is a good idea, but let's, approach it a little bit differently this way. And so we do a lot of work to craft those relationships at the government level. Don't always agree. We don't always get necessarily our view, or what we might like to see 100% in there. But we maintain a really good relationship with the county, City of Belgrade, City of Bozeman on, this is what makes good policy. This isn't. I'm not going to take credit, or not going to say that, they run every housing idea by us, because they don't. And I certainly don't want SWMBIA to get blamed for housing policy that is not good, because we always try to look out for, keeping building going, but doing it in a very smart way, being able to keep it sustainable, keep the costs. I mean, rising housing costs are always a hot topic. But it's not that, people are just making money hand over fist. That's not how it works. It's the costs, the inputs have gone up so significantly. 30% of the cost of a house is due to regulatory impacts. So again, it's not that we don't want to see regulation. It's that we want to do regulation in a smart way, that we're not, completely shooting over the moon with some regulatory burdens that don't provide benefit and doesn't make the house any better. We want to be able to, increase the supply of housing so that we can see a better housing cost.
And I'd imagine if there's too much regulation, sometimes that drives the cost up, right, with everything else, depending on what you guys have to go through to
it definitely doesn't go down.
Yeah.
So, and we have people that it's not just at a local level, but at a state level and at a federal level. So we have people on our board and also who volunteer that go to the state meetings as they bring up different things. The state always seems to have water issues. Everybody's pushing water issues, but that can lead into a federal, something federal. So we have people that go to state meet or our BIAW meetings.
Yep.
Yeah. So just to see what's happening in the rest of the country and what they're trying to do.
With water, how involved or informed are you guys with what water issues are around here? Because I hear about it kind of passively. I don't know that anyone I'm speaking to is an expert on it, or but it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna profess to be an expert on it. I feel like every time a water policy comes out on whether it's at the Bozeman level or county level or up to the state or national for that matter, it always gets pretty heated on both sides of how things go. I think they always say whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. So try to be as involved as we can. One example, the city of Bozeman pushed a new landscaping and irrigation guideline initiative that I was involved in. I'm not pleased 100% with the final result because of the cost that it adds. I will say that the city is working on some updates to that guideline after seeing it in place for the last 2 years and really understanding some of the burdens that have been created out of it that wouldn't necessarily save more water. But ultimately out of that, their whole reason that they were pushing that was essentially, we're spending too much water watering our landscape. And I can see that. And there was a lot of landscape being installed by maybe more fly-by-night people that the irrigation, was overshooting sidewalks and just water getting wasted. So the city wanted to do something about that. I think they went a little too far, but they are, because of our relationship, they're willing to work with us on making it, where it's not penalizing good contractors and ultimately making the house be that much more expensive. So right now that particular policy isn't satisfactory to us, based on the feedback we've gotten from our builders. I'm certainly been affected by it in landscaping, but mostly just because of the costs that are created by it and the end result. It basically changes the landscape of a house significantly, much smaller lawns, makes it hard to have a dog, things like that. And we just really want to find a common ground with them on, yes, let's do some things to save water, but let's strike a balance, because we also always have this affordable housing issue.
And I know we talked about that a little bit when we talked on the phone before you guys came here. Where, do you have much of like a current outlook on housing prices in Gallatin County or anything like that? Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mountain Mule is to build real connection between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. We provide private transportation services and Yellowstone National Park tours. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, consider following the show. Whether you're using our services directly or following and sharing the show, those simple actions help support this business as well as the businesses and guests that have been a part of the show. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses, local jobs, and this beautiful state. Now back to the show.
I don't have like the exact numbers in front of me, but just generally speaking, over the last 2 years, we've seen housing decline. Or housing cost decline, especially from the peak that was COVID. 2023 and early in 24, they really peaked out. And so we've seen the housing market start to come down a little bit. I don't think we're going to see it go to pre-COVID levels. I think that's unrealistic to expect that. But we've seen the costs come down simply from what the real estate market is, but then also building costs are starting to trickle back down. And some of the subcontractor costs are starting to trickle back down because the inputs are less. The regulatory items are not less. If anything, they're more. So we are starting to see that come down. The other part of that is there was a huge need for apartments to be built in Bozeman. And I say that the market definitely answered that call, because now there's a lot of apartments in Bozeman.
There's a lot of them.
So many apartments in the last couple of years, and it created a vacancy. And the laws of supply and demand certainly are in effect. I was a renter up until recently, and I was in an apartment for 3 years. My apartment started out, I got in there at the peak of the market, basically. And by the time I left, my rent decreased by over $800 a month by the time I left.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. And so that's, we're kind of seeing that happen around town in the rental side first. Not necessarily everywhere, but for your kind of your average student housing, if you will, the costs are coming down, and the power is kind of back towards the tenant on that side, is because there is a vacancy, and they're a business, they need to fill their units, so there's incentives and offerings that way.
That's what I was going to say. It's a lot of apartments. You could tell when things slow down, because then they offer like a free TV or 2 months free rent, so which you normally haven't seen here at all. So
yeah, some of them I've driven by, it's like first 3 months or something with a big banner on the side of the building, and they want bodies in there at that point.
Yeah. Yep. So compared to the median income, it's still high, it's still unaffordable. Montana is one of the most unaffordable housing states in the country, if not the most. So it's not like we're saying, yep, all done, we're good, because that's not the case. But we are seeing, the supply was greatly increased, and it met the demand that was the influx of people from COVID, when there was a 0% vacancy rate or negative vacancy rate. I remember when I first started renting out in college, 12 plus years ago now, how you had to have pretty much everything together, ready to go if you wanted to rent an apartment. You had to have your first and last month's rent. You had to have your security deposit, your roommates lined up, background check complete, have everything ready, and basically hope you were the first one to apply, or you didn't get it. And you really didn't even need to go bother looking at it, because if they would take it, you pretty much just had to accept it. Now people can go and tour apartments, tour housing, single family homes, and it's become a lot more available because we've increased the supply what we have.
I remember a time when a couple of tract home builders were offering a lottery, and people would show up and camp out and hope that they were picked that day to get a house.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, houses used to sell at the framing stage.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a spec home, a single family home in a subdivision, pretty much once the framing was up and they had it listed, people were already buying that, and then there's 6 months more to build the house, but that was already getting closed and everything.
and people who were buying a house that were 6 months before they didn't even see the house. They just bought the house from New York City or something like that. So, yeah.
It's funny you guys are saying that because my sister and brother-in-law both went to school, graduated from MSU, and they moved back right in that COVID time. They were having their first kid, and they're like, "All right, we're not doing this. We're coming back to Montana." Me and a buddy looked at houses for them. They ended up buying the one that they bought sight unseen, but there was 3 houses to look at, and one was in framing. And they're like, "What'd you think of the house?" I'm like, "Well, you got to have a pretty good imagination because it was in framing." But I think that's what was going on then. And they, like, all things considered, they had a great interest rate because it was 2020 and there was great interest rates. And
Right.
They got it probably for half of what it's worth right now. So,
Yeah.
But it was funny that the thought of looking at a house and framing, it's like,
Yeah. And it was, crazy. And then, but that's what the market was for the last number of years. And even prior to COVID, there was still, the infrastructure of Bozeman, not just in the roads, but the infrastructure of quantity of people to build homes, really had to tick up. And then we got overran basically in during the COVID times when everybody wanted to move here. And so being a part of SWMBIA really helps to me as just, I'm a landscaper, but really helped me understand the entire process more than anything and understand like what actually costs going into a house. I mean, there's $100,000 on a single family home before in regulatory burden before you even, put an excavator on the site.
and I'd imagine that's what I wanted to ask you guys as far as being a member. I'd imagine that network and the networking aspect of it is one of the biggest benefits for members is to, all be able to talk and come together and sort of have that insight.
Yeah, I'd say so. And it's more so knowing that you're seeing concerns come up and there's an organization to help you address those concerns. We get that all the time. I had a subcontractor call the SWMBIA office and I talked to him about they had an issue getting paid on a project, and we're able to connect them. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give them advice, but we're able to connect them through some resources to help get that resolved. And that's the kind of the benefit we can provide. But the networking part of it has been huge. I mean, I'd say I've not only gained clients from it, a lot of friends certainly, but being able to network and know like, oh, Tim can do my glass. And so like I recently bought a house and Tim's going to come and do the windows here soon, and know that on as a subcontractor, when I'm looking for other trades that can help us out in what we do, if I need an electrician to do some wiring on a project, I've got a membership director in SWMBIA. And because they're SWMBIA member, there's already a certain level of trust that you can have with them.
Yeah, and I guess they're thinking bigger picture as a member just beyond their industry because they're part of this, this bigger thing that's helping the entire industry as a whole and not just their specific industry. So that level of trust, like you're saying, is there when you go out to look for, any one that you might need along that journey of being part of that project.
Yeah.
And I always tell people when they're looking for somebody like a tile guy or an insulator or something, I said, get a list of people from the Home Builders Association, because those people, they have credibility. They're part of a professional organization. You're not just going to find a guy. That's what I saw over the last couple of years, and I think Riley has too. When there's a boom, people come in from out of state. They may not be licensed. They may not have all the insurance, but they show up and they do stuff as fast as they can. It's almost 90% of the time it's not quality, and then they move on to the next boom. So that happens a lot. So I always try to say to stick with people who are local and who are part of different organizations, because then it gives them a little more credibility.
Yeah, I was thinking that when you're talking about like 2020 times and there's no housing availability, it created this, I don't know, I always call it the gold rush, but it was like a housing gold rush. And then, everyone's swarming here because there's this huge market opportunity, and guys are working in states they've never worked in, like and so everyone's working with a bunch of people they haven't worked with, and there's really no trust. It's just kind of like, let's slap this together. And I know people, who have experienced this firsthand with different contractors and stuff. And they're like, I don't know who this guy was, but he was the only guy available. And like half of this stuff is like, they're charging me like 3 times as much, and half the work isn't getting done. And I don't know, it gets, when the desperation's that high, it starts to get sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know of a contractor that you can trace him back to about 10 states. He's not here anymore, but you could trace him back to like 10 states, and each one had reports about the guy that were pretty, I don't want to say horrific, but yeah, he wasn't a good guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Vince was here the other day, and I think we were talking about that too. He's kind of like burn out your resources here and then hop to the next.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think of, but I guess that's how it goes when the.
Yeah. And that's, I think, I'm a native Montanan. And so I think there's always this pride that comes with a native Montanan, or even if you've just been here for a couple of years, there's a sense of pride of being a local and being, being in this wonderful community. And so we've done work for out-of-state general contractors. We've had a couple not go our way, and I've kind of watched them learn a lesson. I think Bozeman is different than a lot of other communities based on what they say. I had one GC made a comment. It was during bow season in the fall. He didn't realize that his job site would shut down for a week because everyone was taking a week off to go bow hunting. And he's like, that's just a lesson we had to learn in Montana. I didn't know that was going to happen. So yeah, I think there's a sense of pride that comes from being a contractor in Montana and knowing the Bozeman ways, if you will. In the contracting world, I think it's one big small town, honestly. You have great reputations and you have reputations that are not so great, but you pretty much know, for the most part, all the trades that are going out there in one way or another.
I think that all the time. The size of Gallatin County and Bozeman is like, it's not a big city. It's like, it's a city, but like when I sat down with Vince on Tuesday night, I'm at my nephew's birthday party. I'm talking to my brother-in-law. He's like, oh yeah, I was talking with Vince. We're going to do some work together. Yeah. I see Vince the next day, and he's like, yeah, he texted me. I'm like, that's how it is. There's those connections that, they're so valuable, and your reputation is so valuable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so that's definitely, one thing at the SWMBIA board level is we approve the members when they apply. And it's a simple vetting process, but we have the ability to deny them. I'm glad that in my tenure at SWMBIA, we haven't had to deny any members per se that have applied. But when they become part of our organization, they also represent SWMBIA. And so we want to make sure that they are upholding values, that they're a good contractor. We definitely welcome people from out of state, of course. And I always encourage, when I've worked with some of these home builders or general contractors who have come here from out of state, I kind of interview them and make sure there's a good, kind of get to know who they are before we just agree to do their job. And then I always tell them, like, hey, I'm involved in SWMBIA. If you've got any, gaps in your trade schedule or need to know any good local guys, like, let me know. I can help get you connected, because that's one of the best things about SWMBIA, that networking part, and then being able to be proud of being part of an organization that's been around since 1978.
So if somebody listens to this now and they want to call you guys up and join, what does that process look like for them?
Yeah. Well, they simply just call the SWMBIA office. If you Google it, it'll go to our office, our executive director, Lisa Blank. It'll go right to her cell phone, and she'll tell you all about signing up for SWMBIA. You can also sign up online as well. But if you want to get more information specifically about SWMBIA, give Lisa a call, and she will. You'll be glad you did. She's really good at explaining what SWMBIA is and what we can do for our members.
One thing about with membership and everything, when I was mentioning the GRIP program, when you're part of SWMBIA is free. So when they have these safety programs, they're free to you. You can sign people up for them, and they're free to you. So to me, that's a big, because most people want to know what value they're going to get out of being a member. And that's one of the things that I try to bring up. The GRIP program right now, I do believe we're going to have a refund, because what Montana State Fund does is they compare how much money they have taken in compared to claims. And if it's below a certain percentage, every person who's part of the GRIP program gets money back off of that program. So that's one reason to be be a part of it. And they'll help you through any claims or anything like that you have. I personally have had a claim that dragged me through the ringer for 2 years, and Home Builders Association helped me get through it. So yeah, that's one thing that helps a lot, because sometimes you can't get rid of a claim. It's hard to get rid of it. So
Yeah, and I'd imagine even like back to the networking too, if you have this claim you're trying to get through or anything, you can go talk with someone who's been through it.
Yeah.
And having that,
Yeah.
that's been the most valuable thing I've gotten from any relationships I have in businesses is people have been through this. And most people, like, especially around Montana, people want to help. They're like, hey, I did this. It's not a big deal. I can help you out. And I think when you get into organizations like this everyone's working together towards a greater good, ideally.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have an event coming up, right? You said you have quite a few.
Yeah, we do have quite a few. There's been a lot of SWMBIA things going on lately. I think our next event is June 9th. It's for the Professional Women in Building Council. The PWB, they're having a pickleball night. I wouldn't call it a tournament, but a pickleball night that's open to any SWMBIA or PWB member. Don't have to be a professional woman to do it. You could be an unprofessional man and go there. But so yeah, they're having the pickleball tournament or event. June 12th is our golf tournament every year, which is really fun. It's a highlight, and it sells out within a day. So unfortunately, that one is sold out. But the SWMBIA golf tournament in 2 weeks here is pretty fun. That's a great, networking. It's not just golf and a day of drinking, but a lot of good networking that happens there.
But it's also golf and a day of drinking.
It's also golf and a day of drinking. That's why it sells out so fast. But yeah, it's not that SWMBIA is just pickleball and golf.
Yeah.
Every year we have our home expo at the Brick Breeden Field House, and we have non-members that are vendors there, and so there's usually over 200 vendors at the Brick for a weekend, and allows the prospective home buyers or people looking to remodel or get their windows replaced, or they need new shower glass, or need landscaping, or
concrete coatings, cabinets,
or they're getting ready to build and they want to learn about some interesting building systems. Those are always there. So that's one of the highlight events that we always have, is the home expo.
In talking about networking, that's one thing we set up at the expo, and we have 2 brand new contractors that we met at the expo. So, that's a good way to do business back and forth. So
And I don't know if I might be, I thought I saw, was there something at your shop? Was that a SWMBIA thing, or is that a Rivers thing?
Yeah, that's another thing that we do is we have a member hosted event monthly.
Okay.
So we open that up at the beginning of the year. Lisa makes sure that our members know about it. And if they want to have an event at their shop or their office or a job site, even, they could have a charcuterie board and some beverages, but basically just a mingle event. It gives the business a chance to highlight their business and what they're doing. So yeah, my example is on June 18th at Rivers Landscaping. We just built a new building. We're going to be having a big open house to thank all the trade partners from Blanton Contracting that built it, and opening that up to the entire SWMBIA membership as well. For anyone looking to be in SWMBIA, it's just another good networking event. And we do that monthly. So June just happens to be my place. I don't remember off the top of my head where we're going in July. I know August, the member event would be at Cross Country Mortgage. Amber Dawkin, who's actually our past president, she's hosting a member event. But so monthly, there's a networking event. On top of that, we also have they're not monthly, but we have a general membership meeting. We have 5 a year. And we usually are now, Lisa's idea was to have members present at that, and kind of a chance to highlight their business, but always in an educational aspect. So last week, we heard from Opinion, a local accounting firm, on some different AI things that they can do, different softwares that are available to help know your numbers, basically. And so there's always a really good education aspect along with the networking that goes with our general membership meeting dinners.
I pulled up the calendar. It looks like IMEG in July.
Perfect.
Engineers.
Yeah. Eric Garberg, that I'm not sure his position at IMAG, but he's an engineer at IMAG, and
Okay.
he's on our board. He's actually our government affairs director, and that'll be at their office.
And you got Sporting Clays on here on July 31st. Maybe
Yep.
that's a member event. I'm not sure.
That is, I think there's still some spaces open, but that's one that we've been doing for a number of years. And the Sporting Clays on that. The nice thing about the Sporting Clays is the profit from that essentially goes into the SWMBIA Cares 501c3 nonprofit, and those go to supporting the scholarships for the trades program at Gallatin College.
Very cool. Anything else you guys want to share about SWMBIA? It sounds like you guys are doing cool stuff in the community.
One of the things I would like to say, if Riley could talk about a little bit, was the what we just defeated with the GRIP program, or not with
the word,
sorry, the word
part, a big part of SWMBIA, and knowing that they've got your back. We've got the education. We're always doing something there with high school or Gallatin College. We've got the networking really well dialed. The government affairs piece and the advocacy always seems to be, it's evolving because politics and legislation that's going on every single year. And so one thing that came up last year was the ward water advocacy for residential development ballot initiative in the city of Bozeman. Could go on an entire podcast about this. But long and short of it, a local group in Bozeman brought forward this initiative to get it put on the ballot that would require builders to put a third, 33% of their homes in a development into what is qualified as affordable housing. And essentially that on its face sounded good. And then if they did that, they would be able to have water rights from the city. This is going to be cliff notes because it's complicated, but
I do remember vaguely hearing about this.
Right. And so on its face, it sounded like, oh, it'll save water and it'll help affordable housing. It was not going to do either of those things. It was going to make the water situation worse, and it was going to drastically drive up the cost of housing by putting more regulatory burden. And it's not that we didn't want to build affordable housing. We want to build affordable housing. This would have made it to where these houses are being built essentially at a $300,000 loss on an average single family home. Our members, the people who are part of SWMBIA and who build houses for a living, cannot absorb a $300,000 loss. It's not per house. That is not feasible. And so build the house $300,000 less than the cost of it, and then you would be able to build the other houses. But that cost would have to get passed on to the other houses that are not marked as affordable, which would have increased the cost of all the other houses. So what SWMBIA did, we stepped up. We weren't invited. This wasn't a city initiative. The city wasn't pushing this forward. We weren't invited by this group to talk about housing. They didn't have any housing experts or building experts on their board. I think they're fine people. They had a good idea, or what they perceived to be a good idea. It just wasn't as collaborative as it should have been. And so we had to step up, and we had got a ballot committee together and did an educational campaign to say what the true negative effects of this were going to be. And that was looking out for our members, but that was looking out for the community at large. It was a very hot topic in Bozeman last election cycle. So we stepped up, we educated, did a campaign on that, and it was defeated, I believe, like 10,000 no votes to 3,000 yay votes, which was interesting because they had over 5,000 signatures originally to get it on the ballot. So that told us that people were listening, that they looked at both sets of the facts, and they decided to vote against it, ultimately because it would have adversely affected housing. I think one of the best things that came from that, though, is a relationship with several people that brought that forward, and knowing that, hey, they wanted to see a change in housing. We wanted to see a change in housing. We haven't been able to do anything yet, but there's an open door from them and us to be able to work together on housing costs in Bozeman.
Yeah, that's very cool. And it's interesting because I remember hearing about this. It was at a chamber meeting or something. And the next day I'm at the grocery store and somebody's there with a petition.
Yeah.
It was interesting because they couldn't, like, I just picked them about it a little bit because I just heard about it and they couldn't really explain it to me. And I'm like, I don't understand this well enough, so I'm not going to blindly sign it. But it is very cool that someone like SWMBIA that may see the bigger picture of what it will impact can go advocate for that and its members.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we'd like to see in the future is like, hey, we want to tackle affordable housing. We want to make sure that people know like, hey, so do we. Let's talk together. Let's see what we can do. And maybe we could see, hey, this idea on its face might sound good to you, but here's the actual negative effects of it. Let's do something else together.
And one of the things that the reason I kind of wanted to bring that up is it wasn't just SWMBIA that was fighting this. We had help from our state. We had help from national. So it was a big effort that they saw that there were problems with what they were trying to pass. So,
and not only that, it was kind of a diverse group that was opposed to it. Forward Montana, other groups that are not building related, they'll be the first to tell you that. But they do care about housing costs. And they saw that it was going to negatively affect housing costs. So yeah, that was definitely a lot of work last year. We had realtors involved with it. Like I say, that diverse group, and learned a lot about it. Got some interesting phone calls at my office about it. But ultimately what it taught me about the city is that there's a lot of passionate people that care about the city in one way or another. As a person in the trades myself, well, yes, I was very involved in that campaign. It was nice to know that there was as much support for the industry as we saw. And I think that's one of the biggest value adds I would tell any prospective SWMBIA member is like, hey, we got your back, and here's an example of we got your back. And part of your dues go into a fund that's restricted simply just to be able to campaign against bad initiatives and campaign for good initiatives. So we help the building industry, but we actually, it got a lot of education out there as well for the community and the effects that would have had.
Yeah, and I think that the education that you highlight is just important too, because like I was saying, someone was asking me to sign this ballot, I couldn't even tell you, like they couldn't tell me why to sign it.
Sure.
And I didn't know why. So I'm like, hey, I didn't, because I didn't know. And I think that a lot of us get in those, we get busy with our own lives and we don't know the nuance of these kinds of decisions and what they affect.
Yeah. And I'll never tell someone how to vote, but I'll give them the facts that I'm able to give them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, the whole thing with that campaign is, like a lot of things these days, it did get polarized. You were on one side or the other, which was unfortunate to see. But again, at the end of it, that group cares deeply about Bozeman, and so does SWMBIA. And hopefully we can do something together in the future that helps to bring about more affordable housing.
I think me and you talked about this, or maybe SWMBIA a little bit when we sat down last time, and it's kind of like we all generally want the same things, affordable housing for a community and, safety for a community, but we all have different ideas of how to get there. And I think that's where the education comes in. And at the end of the day, I think we all have pretty aligned intentions of a better quality of life for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Anything else you want to share about SWMBIA?
Yeah, thanks for having us come on. It's a great organization to be part of. You don't have to be part of the board to be involved. We've got events going on every month. A lot of them are fun. A lot of them are educational. A lot of them get serious about needing to tackle issues. So if you're in the trades or you're in a trade adjacent, you're involved in what it takes to bring a house to the market, or you're involved in the service industry, the home services industry, give Lisa a call in the office. Tim runs the membership committee, and so you'll talk to Tim at some point as well. But yeah, we're always looking to grow membership and get more involved.
Plus have more people involved with SWMBIA.
Great. Yeah. I'll link your guys' website. They can see the calendar with all the events, and hopefully some people hear this and reach out and keep supporting what you guys are doing.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Riley.
Thank you.
Thanks. Cool.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode, along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.